We are Geekcentric, and you can be too. Love ya. Laters. Bye. Get home safe, guys. Peace.
Hello, everyone. How are we?
Great, Justin. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for taking the time to join us on the Geekcentric podcast. I'm really excited to learn more about YetiCon, and more importantly, I'm just really excited to kind of learn more about just the cosplay culture around YetiCon. And I think to have such a diverse group here to kind of talk about that, I think that's really great. And before we kind of get into the formal questions, if you will, I'd love for you guys to actually just let me know who you are and what your role is at YetiCon.
I'm usually the one to jump in first. I'm Angela. I'm the creative director for YetiCon. So my role basically is the quarterback. I plan all the things, organize all the things, do all the things. So I kind of oversee making sure that everything happens cohesively.
Yeah, and I'm Brandon. So Angela and I, of course, are husband and wife, and team in many different businesses that we have, and YetiCon is certainly one of them. And I guess I'm just kind of the person who needs to do whatever needs to get done. So I'm the sort of the jack of all trades.
Just like in marriage, right?
I serve the greater good.
I'm the brains,
Absolutely.
he's the muscle.
There you go. Every great relationship has that. Awesome, Seth.
Yeah, so I'm Saphira Cosplay. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer, and a whole lot more words that Angela added on at the end of the title. I'm kind of the chaos of the group. I have all the wild ideas, part of the team, and I am running the cosplay contest, and I'm making a whole lot of props and decorations for the events.
Awesome. That's cool. Well, you know what? I absolutely love that we have such a diverse group from all areas. It really just shows how many moving parts go into making a convention happen. I think, YetiCon, I've recently heard about it more, obviously engaging in talking with you guys, but even beforehand, I have friends that are cosplayers who would often talk about YetiCon as, the go-to convention just for the community. But for those who might not have experienced it before, and this is a sort of a roundtable question, how do you describe what YetiCon actually is to new attendees?
Certainly, yeah. I mean, it's obviously YetiCon is a fandom convention, but it's so much more than that. It's a geek away vacation is sort of the terminology we've been using. A lot of people see YetiCon as that space where they can go and they can see, their cosplay friends that they haven't seen in a long time, or their geek friends. People come from all over the world to get together. And it's an outdoor adventure. It's hiking. It's all these fun recreational activities and swimming. And there happens to be a convention happening at the same time. So it's sort of a magic bubble vacation. It's the kind of the ideal, perfect vacation for nerds, really.
I love it. It's like a getaway, get some outdoor activity in you, much different, obviously, hosting it at Blue Mountain. There's just so much more of an opportunity.
Oh, sure, yeah. So it's just so different from any other type of convention. Just like the location alone sets it apart. It isn't a convention center for the main part of it, but then because it's in the Blue Mountain Village, where you just have access to all these other activities that you can do, you don't have to stay in there and miss things. There'll be, photo shoots, and there's a party on top of the mountain. So you get to experience kind of the whole area that you wouldn't necessarily get from your typical convention experience.
Yeah, and I agree with that, and I would just sort of call it like a really wonderful fandom vacation. And of course, the whole Blue Mountain environment is it kind of exists in its own bubble, essentially. So once you arrive to Blue Mountain Resort or Blue Mountain Village, there's really no need for you to leave. Everything is self-contained. You have all of your dining and your recreation and your swimming and socializing. Like, you don't need to leave the resort for anything. which is part of the magic of it. One of our main focuses with YetiCons is we just took YetiCon over in January, so we've
Right.
only been doing this for a handful of months, but we really wanted to do two things. We wanted to create a fandom experience that is incredibly immersive because, of course, people all have fandoms that they're passionate about, and what do we want to do more than get lost in our fandom? So if we can provide an environment that is safe and supportive, positive, but also immersive, that's wonderful. And the second thing was to be able to create one-of-a-kind experiences that you really can't find anywhere else. And I think that is a really big differentiator between a lot of your regular conventions and the destination cons. And so, like Saf had mentioned, we have the Frostfire Gala, which takes place on top of the Blue Mountain at there's an event center right on top of the mountain. So you get in your cosplay, you take the gondola, you go up to this event center that really overlooks the whole Blue Mountain Village. You can see Georgian Bay in the background, and the setting is just so unique. Live music, and then we have, of course, after parties. So the real important part was if we were going to be able to take over YetiCon and help it realize its true potential, how are we going to be able to offer that to the attendees to be able to create immersive experiences and also one-of-a-kind experiences that they can't find anywhere else?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that. I think that the real differentiation between, we at Geekcentric, we're convention goers. We've traveled the world for conventions, gone to Japan, gone to Florida, Germany, but they usually are, held up in a convention center, right? And everything is there. They make it easy so that it's all there. But what's really different about this convention is leveraging the Blue Mountain of it all, blending that environment into the convention experience and creating moments and experiences for people to have at Blue Mountain, which I think is, as you said, I think Geek Vacation, a really great way to kind of understand how this convention feels different than other ones. Like even just Toronto, like gone to Fan Expo, gone to Comic-Con. It's nice that there's this idea of kind of leveraging Blue Mountain to create a different experience for attendees. Now, Brandy, you were kind of touching on it as well. You guys have just taken on YetiCon as new leadership. What excited both you and Angela about, stepping into this role of kind of leading YetiCon, I guess, into the next phase?
So originally, and you know what, if you had asked me this a few months ago, I think I would have given you a completely different answer. Originally, when we first took this project on and we took over YetiCon, we saw it as an opportunity to realize the vision for what we were trying to do with the Georgian Bay Fan Con. To create sort of an area con that is, a combination of all these different fandoms coming together to celebrate in these immersive experiences that we wanted to create. But, it's difficult to build a con from the ground up, especially in a town like Meaford. So YetiCon came kind of knocking at our doorstep and we said, this is it. This is exactly what we've been trying to do. This is the opportunity to do that. So that's really what it was for us. And now that we've met so many people in the community, like we're talking hundreds, thousands of people through social media, through email. I get people calling and texting me through, our Discord server. And it's really become a bit of an emotional journey towards where we're at now. We're doing this for the community. The people that we've met in the community that love YetiCon and they love their fandoms and they love, all of their nerd friends. And this is kind of an opportunity for them to get in and say, hey, I would love if YetiCon could do this or could be that, or is there an opportunity to bring this type of a fandom in? And we're making it happen. And it's the community is just so endearing in how they've been responding to us. So that's what it is. It's about the community now, like 100%.
Before taking on this YetiCon project, Angela, Saf, and I, and a small group of volunteers, we had really grand ambitions to create a local fandom convention right here in our small town of Meaford. So we're not too far from Collingwood or the Blue Mountains area. And we recognize that being able to provide these types of experiences to rural communities is really an underserved kind of market. And living in a small community, we recognize that in order to go to conventions that are really worth it to the size and scale, we have to leave our town and we have to go travel somewhere else. So we had thought, and our kids are, active cosplayers and con-goers. So we thought, well, let's give this a try in Meaford. And so we started to create the Georgian Bay Fan Con, and we did that for 2 years. And it was a wonderful experience. We really, we have a history in event planning with other industries, but in terms of fandom conventions, this was our first go. But we did have some barriers in place, mainly lack of infrastructure in small rural communities. In Meaford, we didn't have a convention center. There's no large hotels and, the accommodation. So there were challenges in order for us that would sort of set us back from realizing, the true potential that a con like this would have. So this opportunity to get involved with YetiCon was pretty fortuitous, and it really embodies everything that we were trying to create with the Georgian Bay Fan Con, but now we have the opportunity to build on an established brand. This is YetiCon's 10th anniversary, so for us to take it over in our year 1, but for Yeti year 10, this is a pretty big deal. And so we recognize that the opportunity, the location, and what we started to realize once we got in these YetiCon chairs and we started to reach out to the community, there is a very large group of extremely passionate con goers that YetiCon holds a very special place in their heart. So when we took over YetiCon, we put out surveys to the general public to learn more about what their experiences were like at YetiCon or other conventions. What would they like to see improved? That feedback was so important, but it was amazing. We would hear stories about couples that had met at YetiCon and later on got married at YetiCon, and they go every year as part of their anniversary. Like,
That's cool.
These are very personal anecdotes, and it's very special. So YetiCon holds a very special place in the heart of a lot of con-goers. And so for us, that gives us that drive and the ambition, because we want people to be able to celebrate their passions, and we want people to be able to connect with others. And if we're able to help YetiCon realize its potential, that is extremely rewarding for us, because we want to provide an event that really communicates and connects with the fandom community, not just cosplayers, but fandom lovers of all fandoms.
Of all. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because cosplay is very much encompassing of all fandoms in a lot of ways, right? And
right.
I love that. I love that you guys are so driven by the desire of wanting to lift up the community and support the community. Because I think, again, I think, there might be different perceptions about what cosplay is or how cosplay is, works to a certain degree. And I think I've always saw it as like sort of an all-encompassing art. It's the design, it's the attention to detail, it's believing the character's, portrayal. So a little bit of acting as well, right? Like there's so much that's layered into that. And there's so much, again, as you pointed out with the community, so much passion and seriousness around it, but also having fun with it at the same time. And it's really great that you guys were able to kind of find that I guess like gateway into taking what you were trying to build with the smaller Georgian Bay convention and move it into something larger when YetiCon came knocking. Like that's absolutely perfect, because you're able to translate that so quickly into, there's already a built infrastructure there, right, to a certain degree, and now it's just kind of building off of it and enhancing it based on what you guys want to do. So yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. Keeping on the theme of cosplay and community, Saf, my question is for you. Cosplay obviously feels like it's such a huge part of obviously the YetiCon identity, and again, as we're talking about that community, so why do you think it connects with people the way it does?
I think people have different reasons for cosplaying, but there's a common thread for a lot of us, and it's kind of a stress relief for a lot of us when you get to kind of turn off reality and what's happening in the outside world and dive into your favorite fantasy story or video game and become that character and just like not worry about other stuff. For me, I'm heavily into the maker side of things, and I just love figuring out how to make something that should not exist at all.
Yeah.
So, solving those problems and learning new skills and trying to see if you can pull it off the way it looks in my head and everything. So it's all part of this crazy adventure, and everybody cosplays differently. So, you could talk to somebody else and they have a totally different reason for wanting to. So it's so fun and brings everybody together.
Yeah, I love that. That everyone has their own entry point into it, right? It might be
Yeah.
the creator side, might be someone who wants to really just make the stuff, right? And maybe,
Yeah.
like, and design the outfits. Someone who wants to actually embrace that character and,
Yeah.
act it out and become that character. But I love that. It's another form of escapism in a lot of ways, right? Like
Yeah.
it's another form of just kind of, leaving, the stresses of life and stepping into the shoes of someone else and, fully owning that. To kind of go off that question for you, Saf, what do you think people outside of the cosplay community maybe misunderstand about it?
About cosplay specifically, I feel like there's almost a misconception that most of us are younger. A lot of the times, I would just claim that we're just that good at cosplaying that we tricked you.
There you
We
go.
pulled the makeup off. Like I think you'd be surprised to find out like how many of us are adults and we do the 9 to 5 and have kids and do everything through the week, but then on the weekends, we are slapping on wigs and elaborate wings and pretending to be somebody else. So
Yeah.
I would say that's probably a misconception. And just I don't know. Sometimes we call them normies. Sorry. They think we're weird sometimes. Like I mean maybe a little bit, but I don't think we're that weird. Like just like it's an art form that ends up being a costume instead of like maybe a painting or knitting or something. It's just a different form.
It's a different art
Shove it
form,
through.
yeah. I do think normies, and I'll just say it, older people don't necessarily comprehend and understand why people want to dress up like things and just go about their lives, and
Yeah.
do their thing, right? And maybe have such a passion for it. But if you, like I said, if you really look at it, it's an all-encompassing art form, right? From performative to fashion design to creative to like figuring out like how to just make things, like you were saying, like it really does encompass all of it. And then to, like I'm a photographer and videographer, so I love capturing the details of these costumes. So then now there's this communication and interaction between myself, who might not be a cosplayer, but appreciates your art and appreciates what you've done. And we can now share something together, right? We can kind of like embrace that. So it's like, it's cool to kind of have that, this sort of, I guess, this passion, if you will, kind of show in so many different ways within the idea of costuming and character performance and all that. But I do agree, normies don't always get it, so
We're working on them. We're slowly
it's
winning them
working
over
out.
one by
But
one.
that's why something like YetiCon is so great. And I think you said it best, Brandon. It's a safe space. It's a place to support the community, lift the community up, and showcase where they might necessarily not feel like, oh, they can do this at YetiCon, and really showcase who they are and what they love. So I absolutely adore that. When we think about personal journeys with cosplay, and I think, Saf, what was your first cosplay that you did?
So my gateway into this crazy hobby was actually post-apocalyptic Rapunzel. A friend of mine. There's probably photos somewhere. I had no idea what cosplay was. I'd never been to a convention. A friend of mine who had already been cosplaying for a few years, she already had this Disney princess, like post-apocalyptic group going, and she asked me to join. I'm like, what? Okay. I'll give it a shot, and I just have been obsessed ever since. Like, just that, like, trying to figure out how to do things better and different techniques and different ways and materials. And it's crazy to think back, because I just I kind of slapped together some pieces off Amazon back then, and now I'm 3D modeling and printing things and mold making and foam, like all these crazy skills that I have now are all thanks to cosplay and the tools alone. I was never a tool person, and now I'm like obsessed with tools, and I'm much more confident. So even with my real life, I'm not afraid to pick something up and try to figure it out because of it. So it's a wild ride.
I love that. You kind of like it started as like a small little thing, and now it's evolved into like, you've kind of like surpassed that small thing, right? Like you're now figuring out all new initiatives and designs and using 3D printing, which I think is probably so much more handy in terms of like actually clean designs versus like I'm sure when people would make like, you know, sort of like weapons and stuff like that, you know, they're like either using old school techniques of like paper mache or like, you know, giving it a texture and so on and so forth. So I'm sure 3D printing is the evolution, but I love that. It's like, it's sort of inspired you to take more chances on things. You know what I mean? And to kind of go the distance. I love that. I absolutely love that. Now for Brandon and Angela, I gotta know, have you ever cosplay? I know you mentioned you have kids and they like to cosplay, but have you guys ever cosplay? Have you ever dabbled in the cosplay?
So we like to live very dangerously. YetiCon is going to be our cosplay coming out party as well.
Well, for you, correction, for you.
Yeah, no, our kids have been very into cosplay. That's true. You have cosplayed before.
Yeah.
I've never cosplayed before. We kind of came from the gaming nerd side of things.
Yes. Yeah.
And then Saphira, of course, is balancing us out. We've got a master level cosplayer here as well. So we kind of got the best of both worlds. But no, myself personally, I've taken my kids to conventions where they've cosplayed, but it's going to be my first time. Maybe not the best time to pick. I'll be running around like crazy all weekend, but I'm pretty excited for it.
For sure. We'll make sure that no spoilers because we'll wait and see. But of course, you know, make sure that your cosplay is, you know, built in a way that can support you running around and doing a bunch of things. But yeah, I know. Look,
everything needs to be built for speed.
Exactly. Lightweight. Yes, exactly. Lightweight and to a certain degree.
Yep.
Because I, you know, some of these costumes that some of these people wear, like a certain thing, like again, the detailing is insane. But you think about like the weight of it or like how hot it might get, you know what I mean? And I always remember at like Fan Expo, I don't know if you guys have been, but you know, there's that area at the bottom where the escalators are, where all the cosplayers kind of pool together, and there's also like the section there, and then, you know, you just see them like taking off their costumes because they're like, oh god, so hot. You just need like a break, and then someone comes over, hey, can I get a photo with you? It's like, okay, cool, all right, let's, you know, reset. But again, that idea of the community and them making that time to, you know, say, okay, I'm just resting, but I'm gonna put this thing back on so you can get that photo. It's a lot of fun. The one thing that you guys were kind of all been talking about with YetiCon and just cosplay is this idea of like belonging. You know, the one thing I think the conventions really create is this sense of belonging and connections for people. And I think we've kind of been talking about it. You know, what do you hope people would feel or experience when they come to YetiCon? And Saf, let's start with you.
Yeah, just a really big sense of community. I think it's hard to miss with this event. Cosplay in particular, like this event, it's tailored around cosplay as a focus, whereas with maybe other conventions, cosplay is just something you can do. It's part of it, but you know, it's the forefront of how we've planned things. You know, and what's so amazing about it is, you know, you can try things that you wouldn't necessarily do, like a different version of a character at a different convention, but there's so many different opportunities at YetiCon, you know, because people do swimsuit cosplays. There's the fantasy ball look for the gala. And it's just hard not to be inspired by community when, you know, you're talking to your fellow cosplayers there, like, oh, how did you make this? What did you do that? What are you wearing to the gala? You know, all the conversation. A lot of us kind of struggle with social anxiety, and it provides that icebreaker that I think we all need.
That's interesting. I kind of want to come back to that and just maybe in a second, but both for Angela and Brandon, what are you hoping people are going to take away from this?
Well, I mean, certainly a sense of community, like Saphira was saying. That's what we're really trying to build the most is bringing all these different fandoms together. So YetiCon has been traditionally very heavily anime focused, and the previous owners were, you know, big anime fans, and they did, you know, a fantastic job with it. We're coming in as D&D nerds and video game nerds and, you know, all these other sort of different fandoms. So we're trying to open it up more and bring a lot more different niche fandoms together to share their fandoms with each other and their interests with each other. And so that sort of sense of community and belonging within the greater sort of nerd community is really, that's something that we're trying to achieve. And then also just experiencing a convention in a way that's low stress and really relaxed. I know we've been to a lot of the larger conventions and they're a blast, but you're packed in like sardines. Everything's a rush. It's, you've got to walk 1,000 miles to get to the bathroom. It can be a bit of a stressful, overwhelming experience. And YetiCon's not like that. YetiCon is sort of spread out over the village and it's very chill. People are coming in and going. They're going to the restaurants, back to their hotel, back to the conference for a panel. It's very easygoing. And that we want people to feel like they're on vacation while at a convention.
And to build on that, of course, community is really the most important thing. But I think one thing that we haven't touched on is the sense of fulfillment. And I think when we look at, the passionate convention goers, all the time and prep and planning and hard work that they put in behind the scenes in their free time to create their cosplays or just to prepare for their favorite conventions, to be able to pull that off and to really show off your best outfits and to get a sense of fulfillment because now you're connecting with other like-minded individuals of all different walks of life. And so one of the things that I'm really hoping, and I know I can speak on behalf of Saf and Ange as well, is that after our attendees finish their stay at YetiCon, I just want them to have a really great sense of fulfillment, that they were able to also experience something that they haven't been able to experience anywhere else.
Nice. Yeah, I think based on the desire to want to achieve that, it's built into what you guys are doing, right? Like it's sort of, just from this conversation, you can hear how much care you have for the community and wanting to respect that and showcase. And I love that you're bringing in more fandoms outside of it. Because I also think, kind of going back to what I said about, misconceptions, I think some people think most cosplays need to revolve around anime to a certain degree, but it's like it's so encompassing. Like dressing up like a princess might be different than doing a cosplay. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. Like there's people that might not necessarily always understand the ins and outs of that. But yeah, you were touching on something. It's kind of a deviation from the questions that I have, but I love this idea of like most people might be more introverted, is what you said, and that with the being at these conventions and taking this on, what do you think that releases for them? What do you think that allows them to kind of become in a way?
Yeah, I think when you get socially anxious, among other things, like putting your cosplay on, it's kind of it's like putting on a superhero cape and, suddenly, if I'm wearing something from a fandom and I see somebody else, like you can't help yourself, but like want to go take a selfie with them, go talk to them, talk about the character. It just kind of helps take you out of your own mind and get past that hurdle that some people might struggle with initially if you're just going into any kind of group setting where there's a lot of people. It just is that conversation piece that I think we all appreciate as something as like the icebreaker, basically.
Yeah, it's a conversation starter to be able to see someone else and kind of share in that experience. Because I think walking through like a convention or, you see something, again, it's sort of like a conversation starter. You might see someone with, something that you like, or you might engage with someone who has a cosplay on. You might be standing in line. And I find that it's always kind of like it feels like a safe space to a lot of ways, right? So to a degree, it's like, even with cosplaying, taking that on, you suddenly, get to kind of relax a little bit, right? That anxiety, and you get to share, right? Because maybe, you find an alignment. So I love that. I absolutely love that. Okay. So for this year's event, with this being for the first time you guys are doing it, what's the one thing that you're like super excited for?
Oh gosh. Oh wow. I don't know if there is any one specific thing. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Can we go?
I'm sure you guys will probably no, for sure. But I'm sure like you guys can compile a list together. So definitely share. I'd love to know what is exciting you about this year's convention and what fans are going to be experiencing.
So for me, it's not one specific event or panel or workshop. Although the gala and the swimsuit fashion show are going to be super fun. But for me, it's that I'm not really sure. There's a term for it. It's sort of like a hive mind or a euphoria or something. And you get it at like when you go to like big sporting conventions, and that's cosplaying. You've got your jersey on, you've got your Super Bowl ring, you got your face painted, and you're like rooting for your team. And everybody in the whole stadium is so excited about that same thing as you. That sort of group euphoria, that group feeling that everyone's feeling it. Everyone around you is so excited to be there, and you feel like you're a part of that thing. That feeling is really a bit of a high that I like to chase at conventions, and at large group events. I feel like that's the thing that I'm really most excited about. And just seeing other people really enjoying kind of the fruits of our labor, because we haven't stopped working since for like 5 straight months. We barely sleep.
Facts.
Yeah. So just, I think really for me, seeing the looks on other people's faces and seeing them get together with their friends and seeing them really in their element and having the best time, that's the one thing. And the swimsuit fashion show and the gala.
Those both sound dope. Like the gala sounds awesome too.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And I think maybe what you were trying to say is like the infectious energy.
Yeah,
right?
that it's
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
And just a quick anecdote to talk about fandoms and stuff. Like people who love golf are all that's a fandom. Football's a
Correct.
fandom. Hockey's a fandom. So like
Absolutely.
you don't just have to be in a costume to be a fandom lover. I think what I think I'm most excited about is because YetiCon is technically 2 events. And this was kind of born out of the survey responses that we received from literally hundreds and hundreds of people. So we have YetiCon Daytime, which is all inclusive. It's family friendly. There's a whole array of different really cool things that are going on. And then we have YetiCon After Dark. And the YetiCon After Dark is something that we heard from so many people. Essentially what this is just a series of 19 plus adult themed programming. So, and this is, and I mentioned this in my previous comment, is being able to offer really unique experiences. And it's the After Dark programming that I think is a real differentiator, because what we have in our After Dark programming is really unlike anything else at any other convention. And of course, during the day, we have great panels and workshops and activities and programming, and those things are wonderful and they're going to be great. And you do find those at other cons as well. So we're not reinventing the wheel, but I think what really separates YetiCon in terms of that immersive experience and having unique experiences come from the specific After Dark programming. And some of these are fairly limited capacity. Like our Frostfire Gala only has a couple hundred spaces. So it is it'll be a little bit more of a select group of individuals that'll be able to attend and enjoy. But then the after parties, the raves, I think that is going to be something when a lot of the attendees who experience YetiCon, I think the After Dark programming is really what people are going to be talking about going into the YetiCon for the next year, just because of how unique those experiences are.
Yeah, that's great that you have, like, you recognize that, there's people that want to bring their families and like their kids and have a good time, because as you were pointing out, Saf, like they have lives, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like it's just young people, but then, there's sort of an evening event for people to socialize and, to without the kids, of course,
Yeah.
they're all chilling. But that's great, because that recognizes the idea of, like, as you were saying, just the community and understanding what it is. Cause I don't think there's many conventions that really do that. That would be like, I guess, like they might hold events and stuff like that, but they're not necessarily a part of the convention as much as they are just, sort of events that are held. Right. So what's nice is, again, leveraging the Blue Mountain of it all, the location, the idea of it being a vacation and a bit of an experience, offering different options for people. So, but Saf, what's your excitement for this year?
If I absolutely had to pick something, probably the Iceberg Lounge Bunny Hill contest that we are doing. I'm a sucker for cosplay mashups, so being able to add this type of competition to a really fun party that's already happening, I'm like so pumped. Like the hype I've seen and the Discord and chats is unreal. I can't wait to see all of the crazy bunny mashups. But we just have so many cool ideas for like the vibes that night. And then you add on like bunny cosplays, like chill contests, like it's going to be so fun. I have to say I'm most excited for that.
That's great, because I love that, there's going to be so much attention to this idea of wanting to get people together to kind of interact and have fun together, because like I do think sometimes conventions can be a bit of an experience, especially when there's a lot of panels and people want to see these things, but this feels like more of an activity for those who have attended and are active cosplayers. But let's say, for instance, maybe someone who's curious about YetiCon but has never attended before. What's one thing a first-time attendee absolutely shouldn't miss from this year's YetiCon?
One of the things that really differentiates YetiCon is that it's a choose your own adventure. When we first found out we were taking over YetiCon, I was actually on an all-inclusive in Dominican, and then, well, we both were. And then a couple months later, we were in Cancun at an all-inclusive, and they kind of shaped how I saw it, because I love that all-inclusive resort feeling where there's daytime programming, there's evening parties, there's all these different vibes, but you can also just go to the beach and relax if you want to, or you can go do like some pontoon boating or whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
YetiCon really is that, but as a destination Canadian con. So it's a choose your own adventure. I would tell anyone who's never been before, really spend some time looking at the 141 different panels, workshops, meetups, parties, and figure out what are the things that are really my vibe or my people, and start to plan around that and leave yourself gaps, because you're going to want to go check out the hiking trails, check out the views, check out the scenic lookout. There's so many different rec activities and shopping and restaurants outside of just the conference center. So you leave yourself time for that as well. Don't try to back activities, because you're going to feel right away, you're going to learn that that's just not the YetiCon vibe.
Yeah, because we have so much to offer. If you're a first-time con goer, I think taking a minute just to identify where your interests lie. And so if there are certain panels or workshops that cover topics that you show interest in, but I think a new con goer should try a little bit of everything. So if there's,
That's good feedback.
you don't have to have a crazy busy schedule, because you don't want to get burnt out. You want to make sure that you're maintaining. You also want to be able to explore the village, the shops, the restaurants, all of those things that exist within the Blue Mountain Village. And so there's just so much to experience that I think being able to lay sort of a basic framework of, okay, these are a few key things that I want to see on each day during my stay, but also leave yourself some free time to sort of just wing it, because there are group meetups, there's lots of stuff going on outside in the village, there's live music and entertainment, and we're still actually in the process of finalizing more entertainment and more activities to happen outside of the actual convention space. So as you wander the environment and explore, you can go up to the mountain and go for hikes, and there will be certain photo ops that we're going to be identifying where people can go and just take some beautiful photos. And of course, if you are a cosplayer, what a better place to showcase your outfits than with the beautiful scenery that is the Blue Mountains. So I think being able to take some time to find the spots that really match what you're trying to portray, and then just take time to connect with other people, because you never know, you might connect with somebody and create a real special bond, and then you're with them and you're going to some of the panels that maybe they have identified. So leave yourself a little bit of free time to just sort of go with the flow, and then like Andrew was saying, choose your own adventure. But I think it'd be really important to go over the event schedule, which is it's a pretty big one, and just identify at least a handful of things that you don't want to miss, particularly things that really identify with your interests.
Awesome. That's fantastic. I love that feedback too, because people can get burnt out from first time convention going. We did a convention in 2024. It was D23, and it was massive. It's like the Disney Comic-Con, and it was so overwhelming. Like there's just so much that was happening on the convention floor, and trying to make it all work, it's just, you can get overwhelmed and get burnt out, and it ruins your trip. So I like the idea of kind of review what you have, find your interests, and spread it out. Because really, if it's your first time, I think it's always great to go as like an observer. Like, definitely do things, but like go as someone who's observing and is going to take it in while also doing the things that allow you to take it in, that are more personal to you, yourself, as someone who might be interested. And I think that's always like a smart way to approach a first time going experience. It's not about trying to like do everything. It's just about finding what interests you, because the next year you'll have more insight when you want to come back. Saf, any other advice you would want to give a first time attendee for attending YetiCon?
Yeah, I have a few things actually. First and foremost, if you use Discord, join our YetiCon Discord server. It is just chock full of attendees and other cosplayers that have attended for the past 10 years. And you're not going to find any better insight, hidden gems, best photography spots, vibes, anything you need. Like, it is just the best place to get all that information. If you are coming for the first time, it can be a little daunting just because it is such a different style of convention, and it can be a little bit intimidating if like you don't have somebody to maybe lean on. So like that is an absolute your best place to start. And then if possible, I strongly recommend at least trying to stay over one night just to get the full experience. I live close to Blue Mountain, so I kind of realized that I've been doing YetiCon wrong all this time because I would just turn and burn, right? I was like, I'm not getting a room. And then you go home and find, oh, there's hot tubs and people are doing swimsuit cosplays. Like, I want to do that. What? And like, that's how you end up meeting other people. So you get like the variety that way. And then the final thing would be, I would strongly recommend booking at least one photo shoot. Pick your favorite cosplay photographer and book one session, because your photos will be unreal with that location anywhere. Like, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, I think that's the other part. As a photographer myself, I think that the backdrop of Blue Mountain really does elevate the photography, right? Because a lot of people do stuff in the, you know, especially at Fan Expo, they find like interesting, you know, concrete elements and stuff that is very urban, but obviously there's a lot of nature, there's a lot of trees, there's a lot of beautiful views. In Blue Mountain, it's a different setting, and with the right character in the right setting, you get some beautiful art. So I love that. This is all great advice. So you do have a Discord that I will be putting in the show notes so that people can also add the website as well, where people can find out more information about YetiCon. YetiCon will be taking place June 19th, 20th, and 21st at Blue Mountain. And it sounds like it's going to be a great time. I'm hoping I can get out there and check it out on the Saturday. And see what it's all about, because I've never been, so I'm interested in learning more. Yeah, it's one of those things. Again, I think this has been a very enlightening conversation, because it does highlight the things that we as Geekcentric have known about cosplay, in that the community, the sense of creativity that goes into it, but to see that there's so much passion from you know, you guys building this convention in and around just those sort of pillars, if you will, of what makes cosplay so special. I think that really goes to show that this is a convention that is different from others. And again, thank you guys so much for taking the time to chat with us. It really means a lot to see how much you've put into it, how much effort there is, and what really you're hoping YetiCon will be for the future. So it's really great. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Jesse.
Thanks, Justin.